Okay, hi everyone. This is Madelaine Vallin. Good to see you all. We're having another beautiful, juicy, mad conversation today with a lovely lady called Katrena. And I actually reached out to her because I ended up seeing her name in all these different situations. And I realized that we have so many friends and relationships in common. We're connected in a lot of ways, but I'd never reached out to her before. And I went on her website and I thought, oh wow, this is a really interesting lady. And it turns out that we live really, really close to each other as well, which is, quite interesting too. So Katrena is a hypnotherapist. She works with people's minds. She works in the corporate world. She's got a truckload of amazing knowledge, and I'm really interested and really looking forward to our conversation together. So welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's so great to be here with your mad friends.
Yeah, exactly right.
Happy to be mad with you.
Yes, exactly right. And a lot of people don't think I'm Madeleine, so they think it comes from that. It's making a difference, obviously. MAD is making a difference for anyone that doesn't know that.
Uh-huh.
All the people that are on the air are making a positive difference in the world, even if sometimes it's small and sometimes it's for a lot of people, and it doesn't matter because one person at a time. We can only help one person at a time. So tell us about you and what you do. We've had a little short conversation off air, but tell us about what you do and what you're passionate about.
I'm passionate about helping people, just like everybody's life purpose is about helping people. But my format is going into corporate and going into the corporate world and helping people there, because my belief is that if we just helped managers manage better and leaders lead better, then the world would be a completely different place overnight. The issue staff have is that managers are not very good managers, and the reason being is they don't understand people, they don't understand the psychology behind people, and they haven't really explored their own self-awareness, and a lot of staff haven't explored their own self-awareness. So my take on leadership management in my masterclass is around that psychological piece and getting people really in touch with who they are, what they want, and to help corporates stop killing their staff with stress.
Yes, yeah.
So I want to be that bridge, really. That's my madness.
Yeah, being the bridge in between the corporate and I suppose I know you're very
spiritual. Yeah, and bring the spiritual in. And we were talking about how are the words different? Is the language different? And I think that the language for me is very similar, and I'm surprised at what I've been able to get away with over the last 20 years. But a lot of what I talk about now is pretty much mainstream. So you can talk about heart-centered leadership. You can talk about conscious leadership now. Leaders are after that sort of thing. You can talk about instinct and intuition and gut instincts and head over heart, and all of these things are now mainstream in leadership and in management, and thus in corporate. So it's just a fantastic transition to have been a part of over the last sort of 20, 30 years. And it's just so great because I don't see corporate as corporate. I see corporate as people. So if we just look at them as people, they have spiritual needs just like anybody else. And so I never see the corporate world and the spiritual world as separate. I see that people that work in white collar or blue collar, doesn't matter. They're just people, and they have a head, they have a heart, and they have a spirit. And all that needs to be contended with if we're going to live an enriched life. Because work, this whole thing about work-life balance is all bogus as far as I'm concerned. You want to be balanced in life, and work is part of that life that you're living. And most people that I work with therapeutically, and you'll understand this, Madelaine, is that they're just trying to survive. And so before you get on path and before you understand who you are spiritually, you've got to get beyond that the basic survival mode. So that's why you do all that therapeutic work, and that's why you come to someone like me or you to work on the basics, get rid of the survival stuff and get you up into thriving. And what does thriving look like? Well, to me, you could give yourself a rating out of 10 just for how enriched you are. And all I want for myself is just to be enriched. And so I want to pass that on to others and make sure they're living a very enriched life. And work, for me and for a lot of people, is a part of that enrichment. Imagine if we were just in the zoo, in a cage, with nothing to play with. We wouldn't be enriched. In fact, that would be sad for the animals in the zoo. Well, it's the same for us. We need enrichment. And some of the things that I look at, like if you have a look at your surroundings, I like the environment that I live in to be enriching. I like the work that I do to be enriching. And then the relationships you have need to be inspiring and enriching and stimulating. So, yeah, we're really just looking for enrichment at that next level once you've got beyond just survival mode.
Yeah. So when you're doing these workshops or going into these kind of the corporate
companies, yeah.
How do you really give them, enrich their lives? Because I'm guessing you're pretty short on time when you're doing this as well.
Yeah.
So what tools would you use to sort of support them, or at least kind of introduce a new journey or a new way of living?
Look, I don't always get the ideal. I don't always get the ultimate, but ideally what I'd love from companies is for them to give me 2 days with their executive team. And at Price Waterhouse, for example, Price Waterhouse started me at the partner director level. And then from there, we did 2 days with that high-end lot. Then we came down to senior leaders, and then we came down to managers. Then we came down to new managers, new team leaders, and then we got down into the graduates. So at every level, I got to spend 2 days with these guys, and then everybody got one session with me, which was a 2-hour executive coaching. So the 2 days gives people the foundation of the model so that they switch from being me-centered, which is me.com. It's all about me. You engage me. You motivate me. You do this. You do this. I switch all that out and get them to be other-centered and look at all their communication skills, etc., and all the skills that we go through over the 2 days. And then based on what they've learned, they can come into an executive coaching session for 2 hours. And from there, they've got a language around now what they need and what they've got questions about. They wouldn't have had questions before. So they need the 2 days first. Then you need a one hour session just to fine tune that. And then with some executives who may be battling with self-awareness issues or limiting belief issues, then what I do is I take them over into my therapeutic business and the therapeutic transformational coaching and mentoring. And that's when we might clear some limiting beliefs, usually from the mother or the father. It can be past lives, but if they don't want to quite go there, then you usually can clear a lot in the mother and the father energy psychologically. And we use a thing called matrix therapies to clear the mother, clear the father, and make sure that that's a healthy connection, not from the past connection, which is often not healthy. And then from there, they might start exploring their life purpose. So usually I'll do a 1-day workshop on their life purpose, their soul purpose. What is it all for? Why are we here? And see if we can get them to connect now with their future. Everything we've done up to this point has been all about the past. And now we look at the future. But you don't want to build goals for the future on the crap from the past. So that's why whenever you talk to a therapist, as you know, Madelaine, you've got to clear the paths past first so that we can have a nice clean sheet of paper to go into the future with, rather than just a photocopy, a nasty photocopy from the past.
Absolutely. And I think that's where the beauty comes in to be a therapist and a coach.
Yeah.
Because I don't care how much we talk about, we don't go in the past, and the past is the past and it's all about the future. Well, it depends on what kind of future you want. Because at the end of the day, if there's subconscious programming lying underneath, not supporting you and not actually helping you to reach your goal, you're not gonna be satisfied, you're not gonna get there. So you kind of do need both, and that's so powerful to be able to have someone that's a therapist as well as a coach that can take you on your journey, support you along the whole way, instead of I think you hear these stories about how therapists they only focus on the past. And nowadays, that's not truth anymore. Like, a lot of therapists are extremely good at helping you to remove old subconscious programming, but they are just as good as helping you to get to where you want to go. And there's so much power in removing these old beliefs. I think a lot of people don't realize how they are filtering through every decision we make in life. How we see our world, just even our filtering system in our brain is filtering in the environment our filter is basically our beliefs. It's powerful stuff. So I can imagine being able to work with you for such a long time, over a period of time, you would help to make some really positive change in people's lives.
I like to start with balancing the masculine and the feminine energy. I find that has a massive, I call it like a spring clean. So it's kind of like decluttering your whole home. Let's just balance up the masculine energy, balance up the feminine energy. And sometimes or generally speaking, it's related to the mother or the father. So sometimes the masculine energy is not balanced because of the mother. It's not always because of the father. And sometimes the feminine energy is not balanced because of the mother or the father. It just depends. And then if you look inside the mother and the father, how well were they balanced with their masculine and feminine? And so it's just a very easy decluttering, a spring clean, if you like, a great way to get started. And that's what I tend to start with, regardless of what they think their problems might be, or what issues they want to work on. I say to them, let's just start here. You might be surprised at what's connected to what, and how it's all packed inside the unconscious mind, and how the programming is structured inside there. It's amazing how a lot of my clients just come for the first 4 hours of balancing the masculine and the feminine energies, and you really can get straight into working on your future with a nice clean slate. You don't. I'm not a great believer in years and years of therapy and being inside the past over and over again. If you're finding that people want to stay in the past, or need to keep coming back for counselling, therapy, or whatever they're after, I'm not the coach for them generally. I'm the coach for them. How I know if they're my client is I say to them, are you bored with it? And if they're at that phase where they're so over it, they're so bored with it, they're ready to let it go and move on, then that's the client for me. But if they just want an ear, they just want somebody to talk to, and they just want to go over and over and over the old pain and just keep talking about the old pain for years and years and years to come, it's not for me. I think there's a lot more therapists out there who are way more patient than me. Yeah. I want to get them into the future stuff as quick as possible, and that's, I suppose, what differentiates me from a lot of therapists and coaches. Is I just want to clean up the past so that we can get onto the future and build something awesome.
Absolutely, I agree with you there.
Yeah.
Traumatizing anyone has never served anyone, right? So it is.
I don't get it.
Looking at what's happened, and then taking out the teachings.
Yeah, get the learnings. Yeah, get the learnings so you can move on. That's why we call it aha moments, because if you don't get the aha, then you really didn't get the learning. If you can get to the aha as quick as possible, then you're getting there. And that's why I called my business Deep and Meaningful, because my understanding was that if you could get out beyond the shoreline of life, so the shoreline of life, if you can imagine being at the beach and being crashed with the waves on top of your head, and even worse, with those big crashes, it's when the big wave gets you and slams your face into the sand. And that's how people live their lives generally, in the wash, being smashed by waves at the shoreline of life. So my view is to get out deep and go out deep into the ocean, where the undulations are still there, you know, the highs and the lows, the highs and the lows, but you're not at the shore breaker, which means you can go out deep. And deep, meaning deep, meaningful conversations, is where you get self-awareness from. And the deep and meaningful, find the meaning, meaning find the lesson, you've got it. You can move on. It's done. Otherwise, it just repeats and is louder than last time. That's a simple structure of the universe and the way it seems to work.
Yeah,
You've
absolutely.
got to get out deep, get some deep, self-awareness, find the meaning of the lesson, and then go for it.
And just awareness sometimes is so powerful for people.
Surprisingly, yeah. And easy.
Yeah, I know. Oh wow. Oh,
Boom.
that's why, and all of a sudden they can start seeing things. Because really, I don't know about you, but we're just really facilitating the change. It literally is. They're doing the work. Like we're there supporting their journey. It's not magic. It looks like magic, but it's not. And they're their own magician. It's we just help them to see it, so that they
and the sooner they don't need a magician, the better. So our job is to put ourselves out of a job and be able to move on to help other people. Their job is to become their own therapist, their own guru, their own magician. But in that early phase, often you do need a helping person. And you're right, we're only facilitators of that. We're not doing the work. But what I believe is our job, and I feel it's a great honor to receive a client, because what I think's happened is their unconscious mind has put them in front of my unconscious mind, because I'm the perfect person to help them facilitate that change in the physical world. If the unconscious mind could have done it by itself, with the universe's support and their guardian angels, and the universe is supporting that, then they wouldn't have been put in front of me. Usually you get put in front of me because you're not listening, and the unconscious mind is sick to death of it and goes, right, I'm going to sort this out. So the attraction then happens. So this will happen with your clients as well, Madelaine, of course. So the attraction happens is they know you're the one for them, is that you'll click with them and they'll feel a connection with you. And the client just goes, oh, you're the one for me. You're either saying the things that they want to hear, or the energy is really great, or they have a sense that the vibration is good. But all it really is, that click, is because the unconscious mind recognizes your unconscious mind as the one to get the healing the fastest, and they're sick to death of it. So you're there to sort that out. So I take that job very, very serious, and it's the way the universe uses me. I'm a conduit for that change, as is all therapists.
Beautiful.
And it's a great, great honor. And everyone has their own therapist, and everyone has their own teachers, and all different teachers will come in and out of your life according to where you're at. But when I get given one, and when you get given one, we just say, thank you. I will do my work. I will do my job.
And you just know, do you? It's just
You
that,
just know.
Yeah, I sometimes call it, I can't explain it. It's just this heart connection that just
Heart connection. Beautiful.
happens. And it's just,
Beautiful.
no, don't you? It's just
Yeah, you just know. And they say things to reinforce that. They'll say, I don't know why, but I just feel comfortable with you, or I don't know why, but you're just the best one I've ever had, or no one understood me like you did, or no one was able to unpack me as quick as you, or whatever they say. It's all just verification that you're on the right track. And a lot of the time, a therapist's job, our greatest ability is to get out of the way and allow the energy, the universal source, to work through us. So my belief is everything's channeled through me. It's not me consciously doing it. I've gone off and had some studies and done some work and, got, 22 certifications, blah, blah, blah. That's so that I understand things on a conscious level. But really, our job is to get out of the way and allow our unconscious mind to work with their unconscious mind directly with their higher source, their higher self, and let the universe do its thing. And I know that that's happening through the sensations in my body. As a clairsentient, that's how I feel it. I won't necessarily be a clairvoyant and see it. Sometimes I get visions, but generally it's through my body sensations and the feeling of being an actual conduit. And that has a sparkly, tingly feeling for me. And that's when I know I'm working.
Yeah.
I'm on.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and I think intuition comes to mind. Like, that's a way, the more you work on yourself, because I think as a therapist or a coach, constantly do work on you as well. If you want to get really good at what you do and you want to help people, you've got to start with you, right? So and what I found is the more you do this work, the more tuned in you will be to yourself, and you'll be able to recognize these subtle shifts in energy when you're working with someone, or and you can pick up on things and there's something there and then it comes back and then you're picking it up and you're just, and that just comes with just going deep inside of you, constantly doing that work. That deep inner work is so important.
Yeah, I totally agree. And look, that is so important. I mean, if your audience is a whole lot of therapists, then doing our own work, and we are constantly learning. There is no arrival with this stuff. The way I coin it is I call it clean, and my coaching business is called Clean Coaching. And it's called that because as a therapist, we need to be a clean conduit. The more shit we have on our wings, or the more crap we have going on in our unconscious mind, the less of a clean conduit we are, which means our filter and the way we see things and what we visualize and how we do our work is not clean. So I think clients pick up on that. And if a therapist comes to me and says, I'm not getting very many clients, or people are not attracted to work with them, it's usually because the client knows they're dirtier than they are. And so it's really important that we are clean, and clean as we can be consciously. So if you know you've got an issue, you go and work on that as fast as you can. Sorry, I thought my phone was on silent. I don't know why. Are you hearing that beep?
Just had a little one. Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah, so it's really about being clean, and that's the word I like to use. And I notice when I'm not clean on something, my body will respond, I will listen to it, and you'll go and deal with that and get your aha moment. Go out deep, get the self-awareness, find the meaning, and have the aha moment, and then you could probably move on. And the greatest teachers are our clients. So you're often in therapeutic work hearing what you say as the third person and realizing that that's a message straight back at you. And it's amazing when it's a 3-way therapeutic session. What an amazing business that is, to be paid to have your own therapy. I don't know, it's just amazing. But I love it because the best therapist is yourself in your own language. And that's why we are facilitators. We don't give advice, we facilitate their own voice. And yeah, it's just an amazing thing that we do. And I don't know why everyone doesn't do it. But when I speak to my friends, they go, oh, no, we would never want to do that. It's like, what? It gives me such great joy. And so, it's not for everyone, I understand. But for us, it's where we get our joy and our peace and our excitement and our gratitude from. And it just ticks all the boxes for me. I just love it.
I agree with
Never
you.
get tired.
No,
Never.
I agree with you. I don't either. I just love my work. I just love supporting people. And I'm a musician as well, right? And I've done music since I was yay high, and being on stage, things like that. And what I realized was that when I started doing this work and work on myself and ended up doing more therapy and coaching, I realized that when I'm speaking with people, when I'm coaching people, or even when I'm doing workshops or I'm in front of people and I'm not performing, but I'm speaking my truth, or you see the positive change in someone else because of something they've heard, or it's just this light bulb moment for them, that joy of seeing that change in someone is the same thing as standing in front of 500 people singing for me. It's the same feeling. It's just being able to facilitate that something happens in that person. There's this spark, and all of a sudden life looks different. It's such powerful stuff, and I think it's one of the most beautiful jobs in the world. I really do. I think we're in such a beautiful profession.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't change it for the world. And thank goodness we found our path. A lot of people struggle finding their paths. And when I look back now, it was so obvious, but it took me so long to find my place and my path. And then once I found it, had a spiritual awakening at 25 with a beautiful teacher called Kim Lansdowne Walker here in Avoca. And that's a story in of itself. But anyway, at 25, I was awakened and I just never looked back after that. The whole universe just clicked into place. I understood the structure of the universe and how it works and how to work with it and how to be in flow, and the rest is history. So it's been amazing to find our path. And so many people out there don't realize that they're healers and teachers, and sometimes both, because I think healers are teachers and I think teachers are healers. For me, I'm at the phase now where I'm starting to combine the healing with the teaching, and just finding my expression of that. And it won't be a Reiki style of healing. It will be a different type of healing modality that I think is going to be created somehow. I'm only just early on the phase, so I'm only just receiving information as I go down the path one step at a time. But it's really fascinating to me that I've been a teacher for over nearly 20 years now, and I use my words to heal. And now what I'm going to do is create the two-way heart connection with the words, and I think that there's something there that's going to happen. So that's exciting to know that you can combine the two, and people do. I know they do. I just want to find out my version of that. It will be interesting when that's revealed.
Beautiful. I guess that's a similar path to, very different, but there's similarities there, right? Because where I've been recently realizing that, all my life I've done music and that was my thing, and I used
healing through sound.
Healing through sound, and there was a lot of love in that, but then there was another part of music that I didn't love. I didn't like the marketing. I didn't like to sell myself. I didn't like to put masks on and pretending that I was someone that I wasn't, and it's painful. So I left it and came back, and left it and came back, and then I thought to myself, I bet one day that it will all be like this, like everything
as one
thing. And it is really finding your expression of self, isn't it, through everything that you've learned, everything that you've done, and it's taken me a long time to get to that point. And when you do, you go, oh my gosh,
it seems so obvious now.
See this, like, it's so obvious, but it's amazing because there is there is a way to do it, and once you find it, it's yours. Like, there's no competition, because
No,
how can there be? There's only one of
it's
you,
you. Yeah.
who you are and your experience, and that's amazing. What
It
a
is amazing.
beautiful what a beautiful journey that you've got in front of you. Like,
Yeah, it's very exciting. So, one of the exercises we do at the Life Purpose is getting them to draw up their tree
yeah,
of life. And so I get them down in the roots to do all their things that they were born into. So, genealogically, what's come through, any past lives they may be aware of, all that root stuff. And then up in the tree trunk, we get them to explore between 0 and 7 what's gone on. So they might write there that their parents got divorced or something happened to them, something traumatic, whatever. And then up in the tree area, I get them to explore all the things that they've done, like jobs, hobbies, different career things that they've done. And what you find when you do that exercise is up in the tree branches are all the clues to your self-expression. It's just they were all separate before. Once you see them all on the same tree, you start to realize that there is a common denominator with them. And you can sometimes look over the picture of the tree and the homework that they've done and straight away see exactly the direction that they are born to go in. And your job as the facilitator of that is to perhaps show them and explore some questions around what would make their heart sing, and then their body sings, and then their soul sings, and it all becomes really, really obvious. And so that's what's happened to you, is you're able to look at all the bibs and bobs that we all do throughout our lives. And actors find that too. So actors and singers think that you have to act or you have to sing. But a lot of the ones that I've met have said, I don't want to play a part. I don't want to speak somebody else's words. I don't want to sing somebody else's words. And that's when you know you're meant to be a speaker, trainer, coach, and create your own brand.
yeah, exactly right. And that's what happened to me, because I didn't even know that I was doing it. I was up on stage and I realized I didn't fit into the venues, because I was music venues, and I wanted to speak, and I got told, no, you're speaking too much. You've got to be more quiet. You get the right place for this. People were having dinner, and here I am talking about things that are important, that I think are important.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Then I found a path. That's in you found other stages, but I was still winging it. I was thinking, I'm kind of doing this, but I don't really know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then it all fits together, and all of a sudden you go, oh my gosh, yeah. So
I'm doing it.
I love the tree that you talked about.
Yeah, the tree's a really good exercise. I like that one. The other exercise I give people is the eulogy exercise. So I say to them, write your eulogy. And hopefully there's tears normally, because they should be really connecting with their heart. And I love to sort of start the workshop off with the eulogy, and they just sort of write it. And then throughout the day, they might amend it. So by the end of the workshop, they actually get up and say their eulogy, or we get somebody else to say it for them on their behalf. And what that does is really show you that life is simple. It is so simple. It's not about the big things. It's about the little ripples and the little drips into the ocean that we've all made, and the connections. And the connections and the heart connections are what life is all about. There is no complexity there. No one stood up at a funeral and said, Katrena Friel, she worked and she worked and she worked. She was a very hard worker, and every week received her wages. Very diligent, hard-working woman. Nobody ever says that. It's actually about all these other things. It's about the connections, who loved you, who would remember you, who would miss you. It's look around at that. There's your clues as to what you're meant to be doing. And a lot of mums say to me, oh, I'm just a mum. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're kidding me, right? You're producing humans? I think that's got to be the biggest job on the planet that women have to do, and women are willing to do, and women are built for. And that's fantastic. producing humans, and then what type of humans are we influencing? And that's where mother and father come in to create the next generation. Are we photocopying our grandparents' crap? Are we photocopying on our parents' crap? Or are we photocopying the awakening of the universe stuff onto our kids? And I tell you what, it's happening. I'm actually meeting the kids now who are being born in, and they are next level of awakenedness like we've never seen, and they're just naturally born like that. They come in with the wisdom.
Wow.
They won't need us. We're the last generation of healers. The next generation won't even need them because they will be their own.
Mm.
It's amazing. So when we die, that'll be the end of it. They'll be their own gurus, their own healers, wisdom. They're coming in very, very evolved. And so they're not dealing with any of the basics.
Do you find that there is a gap though? Like
100-year gap we've got.
Yeah, because it sounds great if that's a nice, beautiful, smooth transition. But a few little creases, I'm guessing, that needs to get ironed out.
It does, and that's why it's so desperate for the current generation to get the self-awareness and get the healing of the past, because that all gets photocopied into the kids. And so if you have a look around the world at the more evolved, so-called evolved cultures, it's only because they're more self-aware. And in Australia in particular, we're probably up there. We wouldn't be the best, but I mean, we'd be up there in probably the top 5 most evolved countries. And the reason we're evolved is because we're not dealing with basic water, basic food, basic shelter. So we're able, because the majority of people have got that basics covered, we're able to work on higher up the hierarchy of needs, as Maslow would have put it. So we're up working on things like self-actualization only because we've been born into a country, and it's called the lucky country for a reason. And that is because you've got clean water, you've got access to food, you've got access to shelter. And so you can work on the bigger things like your own happiness and that of your children's and your own evolution. So, we're only up there because the country is amazing and has a high vibration. And so anyone that's been born here into this vibration, we have a job to do. We have an important contribution to make because we've been given the space, the headspace to deal with it. Whereas you imagine if we lived in America today, and you might have a disaster, you won't have the headspace for personal development. You won't have the headspace for meditation and mindfulness. You only have those if you have got the basics covered. So our job is to really appreciate that and have a lot of gratitude, particularly here in Australia, compared to other countries and what they're battling with.
Yes, absolutely. We're very fortunate that we are in the position we are, and yeah, we're very lucky.
I think Australians forget.
Yes.
And we forget.
Yeah, we do, because we get lost in. I actually heard this just today. I was listening to something, I can't remember who it was now, but he was talking about that, how when you get your basic needs met, then you take that for granted, and then you get to the next stage, and then you take that for granted, because you always, it's the natural.
Take that for granted.
It's just life moves on, and you forget. That's why our gratitude practice is so important for people, right? It just brings us back into, hey, what's beautiful.
Yeah, that's why it's there.
Appreciation is huge. We don't understand how it's such a basic, simple thing can be so powerful, but that's why. It's because we tend to live in the future, or we want more, constantly want more, which is good to a certain extent, but it also makes us easily forget that
Consume.
exactly right. And what we have is beautiful. Like, wow, what we already have now is amazing. And it's because it's constantly chasing the next thing or adventure or whatever. So powerful stuff. Wow, you're doing amazing work. Absolutely amazing. And I I've got so much to learn from you. I'm just, my head is spinning with information right now, but it's amazing
Thank you.
the work that you're doing. It's been lovely talking to you, and I hope our paths will cross again, because it's a delight to speak to you. I know that you've got a few events coming up and things like that, and I'll be interested to come and watch you. And
Thank you for having me. I can't wait to meet you, and feel free to come along anytime to any one of my programs, and we get to go deeper, and I'd love to come to your stuff.
absolutely. So thank you very much.